Alright, we're going to talk about vaccinations. Okay, vaccinations are immune system occur when the immune system is exposed to a harmless version of the pathogen. Okay, it's going to stimulate B cell system to produce antibodies to the pathogen. Okay, this is called active immunity because you are actually creating the response. Okay, it allows for rapid response for future exposure, and it creates immunity without getting the disease. Okay, so you will see that you end up with a much quicker secondary response when you have antibodies already there, which is the whole purpose of having vaccinations. Okay, when we talk about vaccinations are most successful against viruses. All right, Jonas Salk is the main person that we talk about when we talk about vaccinations. He developed a vaccination for polio. Polio is caused by a virus that enters the body through the mouth. The virus multiplies in the intestines and invades the nervous system. It can cause total paralysis in a matter of hours. Okay, 1 in 200 infections leads to irreversible paralysis. Okay, among those paralyzed, 5 to 10% die with it when their breathing muscles are immobilized. Polio mainly affects children under the age of 8. The Salk vaccine was an inactivated poliovirus vaccine. It's called an IPV, based on poliovirus grown in a type of monkey kidney tissue, which is chemically inactivated. Okay. Later on, we have what's called the Sabin vaccination. Okay. Sabin created the oral vaccination, which is what's used most common. It's using a live but weakened virus produced by repeated passage of the virus through non-human cells at sub-physiological temperatures. Okay, polio epidemics. 1916, the first major polio epidemic strikes the U.S. 27,000 people suffer paralysis and 6,000 die. Increasing numbers of outbreaks occur each year. 1921, Franklin D. Roosevelt was diagnosed with polio. 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt is elected President of the United States. 1949, Dr. John Elders, Dr. Frederick Robbins, and Dr. Thomas Weller developed a way to grow poliovirus in tissue culture, a breakthrough that aided in the creation of the polio vaccine. They actually won the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine in 1954. In 1952, the United States reports 57,000 polio cases, the worst U.S. epidemic on record. In 1979, the last U.S. case of polio caused by a wild polio virus is reported. 1988, worldwide polio continues to affect more than 35,000 people in 125 countries. 1994, America is certified as polio-free. In 2000, the Western Pacific region is certified polio-free. In 2002, Europe is certified polio-free. These last three pictures that came up here are these pictures here. This one, and this one. These pictures are of the what's called the iron lung, which was used to help those people who could no longer breathe. All right, passive immunity. Passive immunity is from obtaining antibodies from another individual. This is maternal immunity. This is antibodies passed from the mother to the baby across the placenta or in the mother's milk. Critical role of breastfeeding in infants. Okay, mother is creating antibodies against pathogens baby is being exposed to. Injection of antibodies. This is also going to be short-term immunity because it is only going to last for the amount of time that they're given that. Okay, what if the attacker gets past the B cells in the blood and actually infects or hides in some of your own cells? You need to train assassins to recognize and kill off the infected cells, and this is the killer T cells. But how do T cells know someone is hiding in there? Okay, they're going to look for those tagged antigens. Okay, major histocompatibility proteins, MHC. Proteins which constantly carry bits of cellular material from the cytosol to the cell surface. Okay, this is a snapshot of what is going on in the cell. Okay, this is where we get those displaying self-antigens. It will bring forth anything that's not self, and then a T or B cell comes up and goes, who goes there? That's self or foreign. If it doesn't recognize the proteins, then it knows it's an infective cell. Okay, so MHC carry pieces of the infection to the surface. Foreign antigens are now on the cell membrane. You have what's called an antigen presenting cell, APC, because it's presenting. Okay, macrophages can also serve as APC. It's tested by the T helper cells. So the helper T cell comes in, tests it to see if its self recognizes it as being unwanted, and so it creates a T cell response. They're going to attack, learn, and remember pathogens hiding in infected cells. They learn to recognize antigen fragments. They also defend against non-self body cells, aka cancer and transplant cells. There are several types of T cells. There are the helper T cells, which alerts the rest of the immune system, the killer or cytotic T cells, which attack the infected body cells, and the memory T cells, which are going to be your long-term immunity. So a T cell response. You have an APC, an infected cell. T cell comes in and recognizes it as being foreign. Or you're going to have an APTC activated macrophage. And once again, the helper T cell comes in for recognition. Okay? It's going to activate other helper T cells, which within our clones, they're going to sound a response, which are going to activate the killer T cells. And they're also going to stimulate B cells and antibodies. Okay, attack of the killer T cells is they destroy the infected body cells. They're going to bind to the target cell. They're going to secrete porphyrin protein, which is going to cause it to have holes, which punctures the membrane, and the cell goes through lysis, which is apoptosis, which is cell death. Okay, immune response. All right, your first barrier is your skin. If it gets past the skin, then the macrophages are going to be activated. Free antigens in the blood. You get a humoral response, which creates the B cells. Okay, if it gets on infected cells, then you have a cellular response, which does T cells. So B cells are in a humoral response, T cells are in a cellular response. Okay, macrophages are going to activate helper T cells. Helper T cells are going to alert the B cells and alert T cells. Okay, inside the B cells, you have two types. You have the plasma cells, which are going to create antibodies, and memory B cells, which also create antibodies but are your long-term memory. You have memory T cells and cytotoxic T cells. Cytotoxic T cells are the ones that cause cell death. Memory T cells are the ones that are going to give you long-term memory. Your immune system long-term memory. Okay, so helper T cells are very important. But what if you have a virus that attacks those helper T cells? And there is one out there. HIV, human immune deficiency virus. Okay? HIV is a virus that infects helper T cells. Okay? Helper T cells don't activate the rest of the immunity system. And thus your killer T cells and your B cells are not activated. So thus it destroys the immune response. AIDS. AIDS is called acquired immune deficiency syndrome. What happens here is this is infections by opportunistic diseases. Okay? Death is usually from opportunist infections. No one truly dies from HIV. They die from these opportunist infections. Your immune system is suppressed because of HIV. It doesn't allow for your body to react to other things that infect it. So if you get a bacterial infection in your lungs, your body doesn't recognize it as quickly, does not attack it. Okay? So pneumonia and cancers. Immune system malfunctions. There are some autoimmune diseases. This is where the immune system attacks its own molecules and cells. Lupus, which is where the antibodies, many molecules released by normal breakdown of cells. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis is antibodies cause damage to cartilage and bone. Diabetes, beta isolate cells of the pancreas are attacked and destroyed. Multiple sclerosis, the T cells attack myelin sheath of the brain and spinal cord nerves. Okay, allergies. This is an overreaction to environmental antigens. Allergens, which are proteins on the pollen, dust mites, and animal saliva. It stimulates the release of histamine. Okay? Alright, so that is your immune response.